What happens when your value feels tied to your stats, your contract, your wins and losses? And what if there's another or better way to live? If you're an athlete and you're struggling to find your purpose beyond your sport, or if you want to integrate God into your life and discover purpose, if you're lost and need encouragement, then this podcast is for you. Welcome back. Watch me put it in motion. Got strong emotions. Manifest what I've spoken. Another episode of Beyond the Painted Lines. I'm your host, Keith Datu, and as always, Shop Anta. I even got these Anta Kai 2s to show you on the camera today. Check that out. Can't wait to wear these when the season begins. All right, so let's dive into today's episode. We're going to talk about the pressure of performance and also the purpose that you have off the court or off the field, whatever sport you play, right? Just for starters, let me begin by saying that I've been through a lot, right? I've sat the bench at a Division II in the States. I've gone through knee surgery. I've gone through a nose surgery. Someone broke my nose during practice one time. I've even have constant pressure as a pro athlete. The point of this message here is that you are greater than just who you are when you're wearing the uniform or when you're on the golf course or field or court or gym, wherever you're at. You are greater than who you are just when you're in game. I know how it feels to be under massive pressure as a high level athlete or performer, right? A few things that I felt throughout my years of being an athlete is fear of failure, anxiety, because one, I want to do well, and also because I don't want to let other people down, right? And I would say there's a good amount of anxiety in there too, because you want to perform well, whether that's in front of a huge arena or the game is televised, right? There's a healthy amount of anxiety, but that can also contribute to a poor level of anxiety that builds up within you. If it causes you restlessness or you just fear letting people down. These things don't help when you feel like your identity is tied directly to your performance, to your number on your jersey, right? And I say this because I remember moments for myself. If I don't have my sport, which is basketball, then who am I? And I put so much, literally, blood, sweat, and tears into this. Even though I'm still currently playing now, I've transitioned out of sport already, and I lost who I was. And I know that when that time comes for me to transition out of my sport again, I'm not going to go through those same mental battles, the same identity crisis that I had before, right? And I want to tie this into everybody listening here. Even if you're not an athlete, you know that feeling of your worth being completely tied to the output that you're putting in with your work, your career. We identify what we do as our job. I'm a data entry specialist. I'm a construction worker. I'm a whatever that is, right? We identify ourselves as what we do for work, what we do every single day. But I'm here to tell you that you are more than that. You have more purpose than just the work that you do every single day. The best case scenario is when you can tie your purpose into your everyday life, your everyday job and career. And it's a beautiful thing to play a sport for a living or at a high level or have an amazing career as well, right? And by all means, it's I truly mean what I say. I think it's a beautiful thing when you can wake up every day with purpose and drive to achieve something great. But there's also a cost to living in performance mode 24/7, for me at least, right? When we do that, I think we make ourselves prone to burnout, injuries, and other physical and mental hindrances that you have in your life. right? And so let's tie this back into your identity. And when those things are starting to creep into your performance, it kind of messes up you in a way, which is also why we create these mental blockages in our mind, right? Because when your performance takes a hit, right, so does your self-identity. That's also why it's important and crucial to be grounded in your faith, right? Because we have to have this foundation of our beliefs and of who we truly are, despite having a bad game or a bad stretch of games or being injured or burnt out, whatever that may be. We have to have a strong foundation so that we can climb to the top and get out of this rut or period of low that we're in. I also want to take a moment and compare performance versus purpose. The way our mind thinks during our performance driven self, right? So when we are performance driven, right, our mind is telling us like, I must do X, Y, and Z to get the praise or the love or whatever that may be. And the difference is that when we are purpose driven, I believe our mind is telling us that I am loved. I will be praised for the work that I'm putting in no matter what. Therefore, I can continue to do X, Y, and Z. For example, like when I busted my knee and I had knee surgery and I hung up the jersey, I had this big moment of just trusting God because that was my senior year in college. This is probably the most uncertain I've ever been in my life. But God was just preparing my comeback story, ultimately. I really just needed to lean on Him and trust in Him even harder through the uncertainty. Imagine having dreams of continuing to play basketball as long as you can, and all that is shattered through a terrible, terrible knee accident. Hang up your jersey, you thought for good. Live at home for a couple years. You move out, you start working real world jobs, only to realize that you are healthy again and you have the capacity to continue to play basketball again. And overall, write this incredible life story. I think this is probably the rarest example of continuing to play your sport, but I trusted God through this uncertainty and I was happy and I was content with being in the real world outside of professional sports and getting a job and grinding. And I loved my job, but ultimately God still had bigger plans for me. And He sent me to the Philippines and I still get to play basketball. And I'm forever grateful for this, for the way that my story is written. So I want you to remember like the big reason why you are who you are, how everything is happening for you ultimately. And all the hard work that you're putting in is going to pay off one way or another. And it might look different for how you really wanted your future to look like. You have to continue to trust God and lean on Him, I'm telling you. And it starts with prayer and it starts with fasting and it starts with reflection. You have to really look within yourself and realize you are more than just who you are when you have the uniform on. And sometimes just knowing the who you are and why you do things is enough to set you free from being so deeply attached to maybe a sport that you don't even play anymore. I want to leave you guys with another question here. It sounds very vague, but I really want you to think about this, all right? And it's, what am I chasing that I think will define my worth? What am I chasing that I think will define my worth? The big mindset shift I want you guys to focus on right now is no longer I'm only as good as my last game type of mentality, right? Instead, I want you to focus on I am bigger than my performance. And I even encourage you to journal, write it out. Instead of brain rotting, go ahead and word vomit. Like write down who you think you are and who you think God is calling you to be. Because look, at the end of the day, pressure in any form is always going to exist. We can break free from that by choosing to root our identity into our purpose instead of just our performance. And so I want you guys to remember, I've been dying to say this entire podcast, is to remember that life goes beyond the painted lines. So if this episode brought you any sort of value, please like, follow, subscribe, shoot me a DM, and let me know how I can pray for you. All right, you guys know where to find me. Manifest what I've spoken. I've been chosen. Watch me put it in motion.